I'm back to looking like crap again. If you're familiar with any sort of project, you realize there's the 80-20 rule. That 20% of the project ends up taking 80% of the time, effort, resources. And I knew that was going to be the case here, and I've already started diving into that. It's 5? No, it's got to be later than that. It's got to be like 7 in the morning. I've got 2 major small accomplished. Hidden down in that deep dark crevice is an oil pressure sensor and now an oil temp sensor. Temp sensors are long, been painful. I got that working. That's the easier of the two. For those of you that aren't too computer inclined, just bear with me for a little bit. Most YouTubers are going to edit right around, but I want to show you just how deep something simple can go. You see when I put my hand over it, they're lit up. I have the battery on a charger. Let's turn this on. Yay! Fans. This was the whole reason I wouldn't start the car so quickly at SEMA, is because that required the laptop before. I had to go into the code and edit the button system to get it detected. It would not show up on the power distribution module. Hi, I'm Rob Dahm. While getting this car to SEMA was both stressful and expensive, using Keeps as a hair loss solution isn't. A special thank you to Keeps for supporting this sort of aggressive timeline on this car. It would not be possible without them. Keeps offers a variety of solutions for people like me who, around my age, start experiencing hair loss. In fact, 2 out of 3 every man will experience it. Sorry guys, not my fault. Not only do Keeps remove my fear, uncertainty, and doubt of finding hair loss treatments, but they make it really easy to get it all done in one spot. It's typical to show before and after pictures of people's experiences on their products. I figured why not show you my own. So what you can see here, no trick photography, that is a considerable head of hair. Let me show you what it looked like a year and a half ago. In all my research, what I figured out was prevention was the biggest key. It's easier to keep what you have, hence the name, versus try and regrow something that's been long gone. So if you're ready to prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/RobDahm, KEEPS.com/RobDahm for 50% off of your first order. And that looks familiar. Those match those. The issue here is this button would not show up whatsoever. Just watch this just for the sake of how complex it is. You don't have to understand it if you don't want to. I had to go to channel maintenance. I had to fake that one, edit it, and then I went through this line of text. It keeps going over and over. There were 3 things I had to fake inside of here. I don't know this code. This is PDM specific code. This connect command, that was wrong too. And then 4 things. I had to rename the type. Once I did all that, then the button showed up, but I still couldn't get them to work. It ends up being something as simple as this. So for example, this is the fuel pump thing. Ignore all of this. On here, there's this thing called on condition. And that says what will turn this system on. And then I had to go find the keypad, and I named it fuel pumps. Cool, click that to 1. Nothing in the keypad says there's a 1 or a 0 or anything like that. And then I clicked on it, clicked OK, still didn't work. If you wanted to add another thing to turn it on, you actually have to click it. That's not it. You have to then right click it. And now it shows up under here. All of that means when I press buttons over here, that on condition. Finally have PDM buttons. The bottom right one is the one that likes to party. I might even turn it all on to where I use the key again to turn on ignition, because I think that'd be kind of cool. It took a couple hours to do all of this. This is sort of stuff that any sort of TV show is going to completely gloss over because it's absolutely boring. But if you're a person that wants to power your car using this system, this is what will greet you. Now with ignition on, we're going to take a look at temperature sensors. You can see that I plugged in the AEM sensor. Sure enough, it reads 65 degrees. That's exactly what we should be getting. Air temp sensors also reading 65, as well as coolant 64. Fuel temp, we'll get that from the flex fuel sensor. We have liquid pressure sensors, so we have the oil pressure, which is also reading. That was the reason I wanted to check this page, and it should be almost at 0. The fuel pressure, you'll notice, oh, there's 17 psi. That's because I was playing with the fuel right here. So we'll go ahead and press that again. And sure enough, we'll turn it back off. And it holds about whatever, 35 psi for a little bit, and then it continues dropping. That's not the world's worst thing. That's not leaking onto the floor. That's all that matters to me. All the basics are ready to fire it back up again. I have one line that's a big issue on this car, and it actually has to do with the pump for coolant. This system will fire up. The problem is one of the 20 AN lines that were supplied, I'll show you the fitting. The fitting is a different angle than the standard AN fitting. One of the reasons I really haven't let this idle long is because of the coolant system. And as you can tell, I've been playing with it. I'm just learning what equilibrium is and learning how it works. I'm learning that this pump sucks, because that's why I got that BMW one over there. It's pulse width managed, so you can you can make it do a lot of things. Button right here. And there's air coming out. Keep getting air out of the whole thing. If it's not a complete loop, that's just gonna be fighting to try and get water up. But if the whole thing's filled, oh, you can hear it kind of kicking in. Oh, I need to fill it. Oh, I'm gonna set the camera down. I had to suck on it, and then all of a sudden I can hear it take. It sounds so different, doesn't it? Obviously, there's air running through it, but I wanted you guys to hear this. It's the whole point of this build. One of the biggest problems with this pump is that it's not meant for pressure. It seems this thing to relax. Now it's getting happier. Faced away from me. What I'm worried about is making sure that we do get coolant in and out of the engine. We've got all my oil sensors working, and we've got buttons to turn this stuff on and off quickly. I want to see if I can get it idling. I am turning on every single safety that is possible on the ECU. With rotaries, you generally want to do ignition cut. You don't want a fuel cut because, well, it goes lean and then you pop the engine and everything works out well. You have RPM limit, rev limit based on coolant temperature. It'll be 8,500 in operating range, 180 degrees Fahrenheit to 212 degrees Fahrenheit. The electronic will tell you what its current limit is, and it steps. It's really cool because it'll be like 7,300 to 7,500. It'll step up as you warm up. I'm also going to turn on overboost protection in case I screw up the turbo settings and I boost way too hard. It's at 35 psi. That's already it's like close to 1,200 horsepower or something nuts like that. I'll fine tune that. Oil pressure, definitely want an alarm at oil temperature, minimum oil pressure, certain RPMs, fuel pressure. This is definitely a safety. So max fuel pressure drop. I'll be honest, on the 3-rotor, 10 psi never bothered me. EGT, nice. If I can get EGTs in here from AEM system, that would be really nice. Turbo, turbine blade, has a sensor, and you see KRPM, it's 1,000 RPM. I mentioned in a video previously that turbos can get up to 100,000, 120,000 RPM, so it'd be 120 KRPM. For the massive turbo this is, it's closer to 68, 75,000 RPM. Once I get that sensor figured out, I'll definitely not allow it to overspeed. I need to get the car over to the door. I want the car to get there on its own, preferably with me in it. This is kind of a moment for me, so yeah. 8:11. The goal is to get the car to the door. There we are. Okay, I'll set you down somewhere cinematic. That's not cinematic. Definitely disconnect this thing. Doesn't get false readings from the battery tender. I'm gonna pull the car back a little bit, make sure it's in neutral. Turbo, nothing getting sucked up in there. Coolant, oil, alternator. That could be tightened. We're gonna move it away. All I need to do is get the laptop logging. I'm gonna turn this to high performance so it doesn't shut down on us. Start logging. Anyway, name it. It knows what to do. Go ahead and hit ignition. And then it brings up all our sensors. That's good. Fuel. We got 47 psi. We'll go ahead and get the water running. Here we go. Definitely need to open the door. That's something. She's an angry girl. Let's go ahead and turn the systems off for the moment. Before we fire it back up. I want to take a look at the logs. I need to make sure that the alternator was running. Let's see what we find in the logs. And there it is running, and there you can see temperatures starting to increase as they should. Man, I really had to hold that throttle open. Yeah, something's off with that. At least we have information now to look at it. It's close to dying a lot. She didn't really start idling until you see the red spots here start dropping. That means she's pulling vacuum. Max 12.81. Alternator's not working. Curious to see how much voltage drop when it starts. Drops down to 8, yeah, 10. Oh no, 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 no. That's not a good sign at all.